Okay, so again, when Zecharia, the Navi Zecharia on Perek Hey, chapter 5. Vashuv, va'esa enai, va'ere, v'hine megillah afa. Again, Zecharia says, he has another vision. After he saw the previous visions under future redemption, here he sees another vision. And he sees in his vision that what? There's a scroll, a Megillah, Afa. It's flying in the air. Scroll flying in midair. Vayomer Elai, the Malach tells me, Ma ta roeh? Zecharia, what do you see? Va'oman, he says to him, Ani roeh Megillah Afa. I see this scroll that's flying in the sky. Orka esrim ba'ama. Its length is 20 amot. Verochba eser ba'ama. And its width is what? 10 amot. I have a flying scroll. Now, what is 20 by 10? What is 10 amot wide, 20 amot tall?
Okay.
That's the entrance of the Hechal, right? The entrance, the doorway to enter the Kodesh, right? Of the Ulam was what? Was 10 amot wide, 20 amot tall. So we have a scroll the size of the Hechal. Now, interesting, Yechezkel HaNavi also has a similar vision, but in his vision, he can see what was written inside the scroll. Zecharia doesn't see words. He just sees the scroll itself. And again, there's another proof to what some, the Radak and others learn, that Zechariah's level of Nevuah is already weaker, because he's one of the last Nevi'im. Him, Chagai, and Malachi are the last Nevi'im alive. And so the Nevuah is already weaker in their days, according to the Radak. He doesn't see anything written on the scroll. Vayomer Elai, he said to me, Zot ha'ala hayotzet al pnei chol haaretz. This is really the curse, the retribution that is being sent out all over the world. Ki chol hagonev mizeh kamo anika, v'chol hanishba mizeh kamo anika. What's he saying? We have a scroll, and the scroll is coming to take retribution. Why is it coming? Why is the entrance like the Hechal? So the Malbim says, Shlomo Melech, when he built the Bet HaMikdash, he said a tefillah. Ki bikesh Shlomo betfilato, v'tasher yecheta ish lere'ehu. When a person would sin against his friend, v'nasa bo ala la'aloto, which means what? One would steal with somebody else. You have a monetary dispute. What do? You go to Bedin, and Bedin, who makes a party, swear that you didn't, lo shalach yado, you didn't steal from your friend, you didn't steal it, that you gave you to watch something, you didn't steal it, right? If we have no clear evidence, you have to swear. Shlomo Melech says that the oath is going to come in front of the Mizbeach. And the heavens will hear, and you will judge. The Mizbeach, Makom Mikdash will judge. וביקש על העלה שישבה איש לחברו שיבוא לפני המזבח, ומשם יצא משפט על הנשבע לשקר. He requested that any Shavuah will go through the Mizbeach, and from there will take retribution anybody who swore falsely. And גם היה דרכם להישבע בית המקדש. And it was common for them to take an oath בשם Hashem in the בית המקדש. So now, Navi is saying, paying retribution. Already, once we spoke about the future, Binyan Bait HaShlishi, in the previous Nevuot. Now Nevuah, Zecharia has a prophecy that what sins, what Chataim will ultimately be destroyed. And he already knows that this Mikdash is going to be temporary. And one of the reasons it will be destroyed is this idea. It's people stealing from another and Shavuot Sheker, and lying and a false oath. And the idea of Shavuot Sheker, you see, when a person does teshuvah, you can erase Chataim. But these are written in a scroll, which can't be erased. Because when a person takes an oath, B'Shem Hashem, you can erase Shem Hashem. So those Chataim cannot be erased. Therefore, the metaphor is a scroll that it's written. It's written down. There's nothing you can do, right? And the teshuvah is only within limits what it can accomplish. And then that comes and takes retribution from those who stole and shvuat sheker and lied falsely. So those who stole from one side of the scroll will take retribution. And when we took an oath falsely, we'll take retribution what's written on the other side of the scroll. And I will send out the scroll, and it will come into the house of the thief, and to the house of the person who swore my name falsely. And now the scroll is going to rest inside his house. And it will destroy his house together with etzim and avanim. What fire can't destroy, shvuat sheker destroys. And that's showing that what ultimately the Bet HaMikdash is going to be destroyed. The Echal is going to be destroyed because of these sins. And even the stones and the actual foundation of the building will be burned by the shvuat shav. That's the first chet he sees as a destruction of the Bet HaMikdash. Vayetzeh hamalach hadover bi, and the malach who was talking to me, Zecharia says, he goes out. Where's he going out from? So the Malbim explains he's going out from one madriga, one level in Shamayim to a lower level. Because we're discussing now chatayim which aren't as severe as the previous one. So he's going down to a different level. And he says, V'yomer elai sana einecha. Go lift your eyes. Ureh. Ma hayotzet hazot. Go out and see. Omar mahi. And what is this that's going out? There's an ephah. Ephah is a measurement. There's this measurement that's going out. And he says, Zot enam bechol haaretz. This is enam, the eyes, the hashgacha of all over the world. As opposed to shvuat sheker, which the hashgacha comes directly from the mizbeach, from the makom hamikdash, that seeks retribution. This is a more generalized hashgacha, not as pinpoint from the Bet HaMikdash that comes to take retribution. What's the ephah is a measure. And the idea is the retribution, the punishment is midah keneged midah. It's measure for measure. It's ephah, it's a measure. You sinned with an ephah, you sinned with a certain, it's midah keneged midah. V'hineh kikar oferet niset. And now there's this kikar oferet. Oferet is lead. As a lead covering that is up. Vezot isha achat yoshevet betoch ha'ephah. And there's a woman who's sitting inside this ephah, this measure, this basket that measures whatever it measures, an ephah. Vayomer, he says, Zot harisha. And Zecharia says, this is the risha. This is the evil, the chataim. Vayashlech ota el toch ha'ephah. And he throws her into the ephah. Vayashlech et ha'even ha'ofaret al piyah. And he puts the lead cover over this lead measure and seals it up. That's the second vision he sees. What's the message of this vision? So Malbim explains, so on a simple level, we're not discussing any specific chet, but any chata'im that the Bnei Israel do, they get retribution measure for measure. Why is the metaphor an isha, a woman? So, not to get too much into, but an isha is a mekabel, right? Zachar, male, is a koach of hashpa'ah, right? A risha is what? It was mekabel. A woman, by definition, receives that hashpa'ah, develops it, and creates. There's two different kochot in the world. A male koach and a female koach, right? Two different kochot in the world. Male koach gives, woman koach receives. That's the feminine, masculine and feminine forces in the world. So the idea is that Ish'ah, the chet itself, which received, which was influenced by our actions, comes back itself to take retribution. It's not something else that comes to give the onish. But it's, what is it? The chet itself comes back. The chet that was mashpia, that influenced the world, it itself comes back to pay back. Exactly midah k'neged midah. So you created that chet with your actions. That's the metaphor. But on a deeper level, what are we discussing here? This we just learned in Daf Yomi on Shabbat. That the Anshe Knesset Gdolah, from this pasuk, were Doresh, they said, we don't want the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah. We don't want it or its schar, or its reward. Right? Because what did the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah do? It destroyed our first Beit HaMikdash, and it exiled us and killed all the Chachamim. We don't want it. We don't want its reward. No more. Let's get rid of that Yetzer Hara. And what do they see? The Gemara says they saw a fire, a lion, a fire coming out of the Beit HaKodesh HaKodashim. It says they grabbed it and they put it inside a lead container and they covered it. And Zecharia says, Zot Harisha. And when they saw the fire coming out of the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Gemara quotes this pasuk. Vayomer Zot Harisha. Zecharia says, this is the Avodah Zarah, this is the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah that's coming from the Kodesh HaKodashim. Vayashlech ota al toch ha'efa, and he puts it inside this lead basket. Vayashlech et aved ha'oferet al piha, and he closes, seals it up with this lead. What's the idea of lead? Because lead does not let sound escape, right? Does not let sound escape. And this will keep that Yetzer completely closed in Satum. So again, this Yetzer Hara that brought destruction to Bnei Israel, and that's the Yetzer Hara itself, which took the retribution of what? Of destroying the Beit HaMikdash and exiling us. Now we're trapping that Yetzer Hara to have a chance to be successful in Beit Sheni. Because the Yetzer Hara is out there, there's no way we're going to succeed in Beit Sheni. We had our own problems without Avodah Zarah. If we had Avodah Zarah on top of everything else, right? That's. However, Zecharia continues in the last nevuah. We'll finish with this. Va'esa enai, I lifted my eyes, va'ere, and I see, hine shtayim nashim yotzot. I see two women going out. Veruach bekanfehim, and there's wind under their wings. Velahena kenafayim ki kanfei hachasida. And they have wings like the wings of a chasida, as a stork. Right? Vatishena, or vatisaena et ha'efa, ben haaretz uben hashamayim. And lifts up this efa, this measure between heaven and earth. It's suspended. I speak to the malach who's talking to me. Ana hema morichot et ha'efa. Where they're taking this efa, this measure. And he said to me, Livnot labayit be'eretz Shin'ar, to build a house in the land of Shin'ar. V'uchan v'hunyicha sham al malkunta. And it will be sit there and it will be placed there. Al malkunet. This is the last vision. What's the message of this vision? So the way the Malbim learns it, he says, even though the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah is gone, there are two things that prop up to take its place, which have a shemitz over the same Avodah Zarah. What are the two things? Presented by the Shten Nashim, these two women. And that is what? He says, Chanufa and Gasut HaRuach. What's Chanufa? Lachnif is what? Lachnif HaReshaim is the person's flattery, right? When you internally you know one thing is right, but on the outside you show something else. Chanukah can be used the other way. On the inside you act all righteous and beautiful. On the outside you act all righteous. You machnif everybody. I'm a wonderful tzaddik. I'm a great person. And on the inside you're corrupt, right? That's Chanukah. You machnif the world, right? And the second one is Gasut HaRuach. Is what? Is the idea of holiness. And both of these things are really a continuation of Avodah Zarah, right? That a person who's Gas Ruach, the Gemara compares to a person who's Gas Ruach, who becomes a haughty, becomes, what's another good word for Gas Ruach? Gavtan, Bal Gava, right? A person who's got a lot of pride, haughtiness is really the word, there's no better word for it. Okay. So a Gas Ruach has a shemitz as part of Avodah Zarah also, because you think of yourself as something better. You're in a sense become to negate Hashem in the world. And an idea of also of Chanufa. A person who's Chanufa also comes from the shortage. The root of is also a semblance of Avodah Zarah. So these are the two chataim which will now prevail in the world instead. You know, unfortunately, we can't get rid of this completely. And they look like a kanfei chasida, and their wings are like a stork. Why? Why is it called a chasida? The Gemara says a stork is not a kosher bird, but yet it's called chasida. Comes the word chesed. Why? Because on one hand it does chesed, shares the food with its fellow birds, but it's cruel to others. Right? So chasida on the outside it shows like it's a wonderful bird. It does chesed, but on the hand it has many things which are cruel about it. It shows cruelty to others, and therefore it's tameh. It's not a kosher bird. So that's why they look like chasida. On the outside, they look like chasidim. We look like great people, but on the inside, they were corrupt. But the senai ta'efa ben haaretz ben hashamayim, and therefore this measure is suspended between heaven and earth. Why? Because on the outside, they look like they're leshem shamayim. They're people that are part of shamayim, but on the inside, they really belong in the eretz. So they're suspended between heaven and earth. So he says to the malach, where are you taking this ephah? Where are you taking this measure? So he says, Livnot abayit be'eretz Shinar. That the house doesn't belong in Yerushalayim. I'm going to build a house where? In the land of Shinar. When we went to Galut, the 10 Shvatim were the first place where they go to. They went to the land of Shinar. Nanu Bavel. And there you can establish yourselves, but not in Yerushalayim. That you're not be able to survive and exist in Yerushalayim with the shemets of these two midot that is found in Klal Yisrael, and that's going to be the ultimate churban of the Bet Hamikdash because of these chataim. This is the message.
אולי זה גם חורבן לבבל. ניתן להם את כל הדברים הרעים.
Yeah, well, the Gemara says that comes from Bavel. Right? These midot come from Bavel. But this is the message. This is the nevuah of Zecharia Hanavi in Perek Hey.